If you gave up everything you loved for someone, would they even notice? The question echoed in Maya's mind as the gray light of morning seeped through rain-streaked windows. Outside, Chicago's relentless drizzle turned the city into a blur of muted colors and shimmering pavement, car tires hissing on wet asphalt. Inside the cramped apartment, Maya sat cross-legged on the living room rug, a steaming mug of black coffee cradled between her palms, her gaze fixed on the sketchbook in her lap. Their apartment was cozy, lived in, the kind of place where books overflowed from shelves and mismatched mugs filled the kitchen cabinets. Packages of oatmeal and granola bars sat on the counter, next to a wilting basil plant on the windowsill. The persistent tap-tap of rain on glass provided a rhythmic backdrop. Maya's fingers idly traced the lines of an old pencil drawing, a swirling mass of color and movement, the kind of thing she used to create when inspiration struck in the middle of the night. Now, her sketchbook was mostly filled with half-finished ideas and notes for projects that never made it past the planning stages. She glanced over at Caleb, who was hunched over the dining table, laptop open, spreadsheets illuminating his face with a cold blue glow. His expression was focused, brows knit in concentration, the kind of look he wore every morning before work. A half-eaten bagel rested at his elbow, forgotten. "Did you sleep okay?" Maya asked, her voice tentative as she flipped to a blank page. He barely looked up. "Yeah, had to go over these numbers for the quarterly report." He rubbed his eyes, then checked his phone. "I might have to stay late tonight." Maya nodded, letting the silence stretch between them. She wanted to ask if he remembered what day it was, if he cared that it had been exactly 1 year since she turned down the biggest opportunity of her career, a position with a renowned design collective in Berlin. Instead, she pressed her lips together and drew a small spiral in the corner of the page. Outside, the city was waking up. Sirens wailed in the distance, the L train rattled by, and the scent of rain mingled with the faint aroma of ground coffee. Maya's phone buzzed with a message from Lila. "Lila, coffee after work? Need the gossip." Maya smiled despite herself. Lila's texts were always a lifeline, a reminder that someone out there still saw her as more than just Caleb's girlfriend, or the one who settled. The thought of Lila's bustling coffee shop, with its mismatched chairs and indie playlists, was a welcome distraction. Caleb closed his laptop, finally glancing at Maya. "Don't forget, we've got to finalize the insurance forms this week. And my mom called about Thanksgiving. She wants to know if you're bringing that sweet potato thing again." "Sure," Maya replied, her tone even. She wanted to tell him she dreamed of spending Thanksgiving in Europe, of sketching on canal bridges and filling her portfolio with new inspiration. Instead, she sipped her coffee and turned another page. Caleb got up, smoothing his tie in the hallway mirror. He paused only long enough to plant a perfunctory kiss on her head before grabbing his travel mug and umbrella. "See you tonight," he said. "Don't wait up if I'm late." Maya watched the door click shut, the apartment falling instantly silent. The only sounds were the rain and the faint hum of the refrigerator. She drew in a shallow breath and stood, stretching as she tried to shake off the heaviness that clung to her chest. She glanced at the time, 7:45. Enough time to shower, grab a granola bar, and dash for the train before the morning rush became unbearable. As she stood in the bathroom, steam fogging the mirror, Maya stared at her reflection, brown eyes framed by dark lashes, studying the tension in her own jaw. She forced her shoulders back, pulled her hair into a low bun, and slipped into black jeans and a slate gray sweater. Professional, understated, easy to blend in. By 8:30, the city had kicked into full gear. Maya joined the stream of commuters under umbrellas, the metallic scent of rain filling the air. The train platform buzzed with conversation and the staccato beat of hurried footsteps. She squeezed into a car, pressed between a man in a rain-soaked suit and a young woman listening to a podcast. As the train rattled above the city, Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through old photos, shots of her at art fairs, murals she'd painted in college, a selfie with her portfolio in hand at the Berlin interview, eyes shining with possibility. She remembered the email. "We'd love to have you join us, Maya. Your work is exactly what we're looking for." She'd stared at that message for hours, her heart pounding, imagining a new life, until Caleb came home, exhausted, talking about his job, his plans, the impossibility of uprooting everything for a career that might not even pay the bills. He never said no outright. He just asked, "But what about us?" And Maya heard the answer in the quiet that followed. She never even replied to Berlin. The train rolled into the loop, the city's glass towers looming overhead, rain running in rivulets down their sides. Maya made her way to the office, a sleek, open layout space with exposed brick, Scandinavian furniture, and bursts of color from local artists' work. Her desk was tucked near a window, overlooking the street below, Eric, her coworker, was already there, headphones around his neck, sketching on a digital tablet. "Hey, Maya," he called, waving. "Did you see the new mural on Damen? It's wild. Big neon koi fish everywhere." She smiled. "No, but I'll have to check it out. Maybe on my way home." Eric grinned, pushing his glasses up his nose. "I saved you a donut, by the way. Maple. Figured you'd need some sugar today. Lifesaver." She took the pastry, feeling the tightness in her chest loosen slightly. The morning passed in a blur of meetings and emails. Maya sat through a conference call, scribbling mindlessly in the margins of her notebook, shapes and colors that wanted to be something more. At lunch, she ducked out early and walked to Lila's coffee shop. The rain had lightened to a drizzle, and the city glistened, puddles reflecting the white sky. Lila's cafe was a riot of color and sound, chalkboard menus, shelves lined with succulents, baristas chatting over the hiss of the espresso machine. Lila herself stood behind the counter, curly hair piled high, a bright scarf at her throat. "Maya!" Lila called, waving her over. "You look like you could use caffeine, or a hug, or both." Maya managed a laugh. "I'll take both. Make it a cortado." They settled into a corner booth, the window fogged with rain. Lila studied her with a knowing look. "So, spill. What's going on?" she asked, her tone gentle but firm. Maya hesitated, twisting the coffee sleeve between her fingers. "Do you ever wonder if you're doing the right thing? Like, you make a choice for someone else, and you keep telling yourself it's for the best, but you're miserable?" Lila finished, eyebrow raised. "Not miserable," Maya protested, then sighed. "Just stuck. I turned down Berlin because Caleb didn't want to move. I thought he'd see how much that meant. I thought—" She broke off, staring into her coffee. "I thought it would matter to him." Lila's eyes softened. "Did you talk to him about it?" "I tried. He said he was proud of me for being offered the job, but then he started talking about 401ks and how hard it is to find work in a new country. He made it sound like I was being reckless." Lila reached across the table and squeezed Maya's hand. "Maya, you've always played it safe. For him, for your parents, for everyone but you." Maya looked away, her throat tight. Outside, two kids splashed through a puddle, laughing as their umbrellas turned inside out. Maya envied their freedom, their unself-conscious joy. "Do you regret it?" Lila asked softly. Maya considered the question, her mind racing through the past year. Sleepless nights, coloring inside the lines, every creative impulse dampened by the need to be responsible, to be stable, to be enough. "I don't know," Maya admitted. "Some days I think I made the right choice. Caleb's a good guy. We have a life here. But other days, you wonder what would have happened if you'd gone," Lila finished. Maya nodded, pressing her knuckles to her lips to keep her voice steady. "I just wish he'd, I don't know, noticed, understood what I gave up." Lila's gaze was steady. "Maya, you can't wait for someone else to validate your dreams. You have to choose them yourself." Maya managed a weak smile. Easier said than done. They sat in comfortable silence, the cafe's warmth a buffer against the cold drizzle outside. The city pulsed beyond the fogged glass, a reminder that life didn't stop for anyone's regrets. Back at the office, Maya found herself distracted, her attention wandering as co-workers brainstormed marketing strategies and debated color palettes. She kept glancing at her phone, half hoping for a text from Caleb asking how her day was going, but his name never appeared. She dove into a new project, designing a website for a local theater company. She lost herself in the flow, her hands moving almost automatically. For a few moments, the world fell away and she felt, just barely, like herself again. As dusk settled, the city lights flickered on, and the rain finally stopped. Maya packed up, stepping into the cool night air. She walked home slowly, weaving through crowded sidewalks, passing neon-lit bars and the savory scent of street food vendors. The city was alive, humming with possibility. In the apartment, Caleb was already home, sprawled on the couch, laptop open again. He looked up, offered a distracted smile. "How was your day?" he asked, eyes returning to the screen before she could answer. "Fine," Maya replied, setting her bag by the door. She watched him, the man she'd chosen, the life she'd chosen. She wondered if he'd ever really know what she'd given up to be here. Later, as she curled up in bed, rain starting anew against the windows, Maya stared at the ceiling, her mind buzzing with questions. If you sacrifice your dreams for someone and they don't even notice, was it really love that asked you to give them up? Or was it just fear? She closed her eyes, listening to the city below, feeling the ache of everything unspoken. And to everyone watching, she couldn't help but wonder, have you ever sacrificed something important for someone else? Did they even notice? The rain had finally stopped by midday, leaving behind streaks of water on the apartment windows and a silvery sheen over the city. Maya stood at the kitchen sink, rinsing the last of her breakfast dishes, her thoughts tangled in the same loop that had haunted her all morning. She glanced toward the tiny dining table, where her sketchbook, now closed, rested beside a growing stack of unopened mail. Caleb's voice drifted in from the bedroom, muffled by the door. "Hey, Maya? Did you see my phone charger?" She wiped her hands on a dish towel and called back, "It's in the living room, next to the couch." He emerged, already dressed for work in a crisp shirt and navy trousers, hair slightly askew. He offered her a fleeting smile as he grabbed the charger, then checked his watch. "I've got that early meeting today. You working late?" "Not sure yet," she replied, forcing a lightness into her tone. "There's a big project coming up. Might need to stay after hours." Caleb frowned, just a flicker. "Try not to overdo it, okay? We've got that budget talk tonight, remember?" She nodded, though her chest tightened. Their budget talks had become routine, Caleb's way of keeping their lives on track, as he liked to say. Maya understood the need for stability, especially in a city as expensive as Chicago. But sometimes, she wondered if he saw her as a partner, or just a variable in his spreadsheet. He pressed a quick kiss to her cheek. "Have a good day. Love you." "Love you too," she replied, but the words felt distant, like echoes from another life. The city pulsed with new energy as Maya boarded the L train, pressed between commuters, the car rattling above the streets. Through the rain-streaked windows, she watched storefronts flash by, neon-lit diners, corner bodegas, the endless flow of umbrellas and hurried footsteps. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. A message from Lila. "Lila, coffee after work? You sound down lately." "I miss your face." Maya smiled despite herself and quickly typed back, "Would love to. See you at 6? As the train lurched forward, she let herself imagine a different morning, one where she'd said yes to that offer from the design collective in Amsterdam. Would she be sketching on a canal-side terrace, collaborating with artists from around the world? Or would she still wake up with this ache, this sense of something unfinished? The thought dissolved as the train pulled into her stop. Maya stepped out into the bustle of downtown, the air clean and sharp after the rain. Her office was perched on the 12th floor of a glass and steel tower, its open layout dotted with potted plants and whiteboards scrawled with ideas. The walls displayed bold, colorful prints from local artists, a constant reminder of the creative energy she craved. Eric Mendoza was already at his desk when she arrived, hunched over his tablet with a stylus in hand. He looked up as she entered, a crooked grin on his face. "Morning, Maya. Ready to save the world with vector art?" She chuckled, dropping her bag beside her chair. "Only if you promise not to make the superhero mascot green again." He feigned offense. "Hey, green is the color of hope. It's also the color of envy," she shot back, but her smile faded as she logged into her computer. The inbox was full. Client requests, feedback loops, meeting invites. Just another day. But then, a new email pinged at the top of her screen. Subject: Lead Designer Opportunity, Urban Canvas Project. Her heart skipped. She clicked. It was from her creative director, Sofia Alvarez. "Maya, I know you've been looking for more creative challenges. The Urban Canvas Project is launching next month, a citywide initiative to revitalize public spaces through collaborative art installation. We need a lead designer who can commit to evenings and weekends. If you're interested, let's talk." Maya's pulse raced. Urban Canvas was all over the design blogs, ambitious, high-profile, the kind of project that could relaunch her artistic career. But it would mean late nights, weekend meetings, and a level of commitment she hadn't dared to imagine since turning down Amsterdam. Eric wheeled his chair over, peering at her screen. "Is that about Urban Canvas? Sophia mentioned she'd be looking for someone to run point." Maya hesitated. "Yeah, she wants to talk." He nudged her shoulder. "You should go for it. This is exactly your thing. Big, bold, a little messy. You'd kill it." She bit her lip, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "It's a huge time commitment. I don't know if I can—" Eric cut her off gently, his tone sincere. "You can, and you should. Don't let anyone talk you out of it." The day passed in a blur of meetings and half-finished designs. By 4 o'clock, Maya hadn't replied to Sophia. She found herself staring out the window, watching the city pulse with possibility, feeling both hopeful and trapped. Her phone buzzed again. "Caleb, Caleb, when will you be home?" Thinking about ordering in tonight, she hesitated before replying. "Might be a late one. Big project talk with Sophia." After a pause, his response, "Okay, just don't forget about our budget review." Maya frowned. There was no "good luck," no "I'm proud of you," just logistics. She tucked the phone away, her resolve wavering. After work, the city was shifting toward dusk. The sky streaked with hints of gold and lavender as Maya hurried down the slick sidewalk toward West Loop. Lila's Cafe, the Roasted Leaf, glowed warm and inviting on the corner. Its windows steamed up from a rush of regulars. Inside, the air was rich with espresso and laughter. Lila darted behind the counter, ponytail bouncing, orchestrating orders with practiced ease. She spotted Maya and waved her over. "Hey, stranger," Lila grinned, sliding 2 mugs of chai across a small table. "You look like you could use a pick-me-up." Maya let herself sink into the chair, grateful for the comfort. Rough day, but also, maybe exciting? I don't know. Lila's gaze sharpened. Spill. So Maya did, about Sophia's email, the urban canvas project, the late hours, the opportunity to finally do something she cared about, and about Caleb, who seemed more worried about their routine than her happiness. Lila listened, brow furrowed. "Maya, you gave up Amsterdam for him. Isn't it time you did something for you?" Maya twisted her mug. "He's just practical. I get it, but I don't want to resent him. Or myself." Lila's voice softened. "You won't. But if you keep putting yourself last, you'll start to disappear. I see you, Maya. Don't let your dreams slip away just because it's easier." Maya blinked back tears, overwhelmed by gratitude and guilt in equal measure. Just then, Lila's barista tapped Maya's shoulder, offering a napkin with a doodle, her own, from an art night months ago, pinned up on the cafe wall. "Customers always ask about this one," the barista said. "They love it." Maya smiled, a small light flickering inside her. On her walk home, the city felt alive, streetlights reflecting on puddles, snippets of music drifting from open doors, the rumble of the elevated train overhead. She turned down a side street, heart pounding with indecision. Back at the apartment, Caleb was sprawled on the couch, laptop open, spreadsheets glowing. He barely looked up as she entered. "Hey, you're late. Did you talk to Sophia?" Maya set her bag down, swallowing hard. "She wants me to lead the urban canvas project. It's a huge deal, Caleb. But it means a lot of extra hours, nights, weekends." He closed his laptop with a sigh, rubbing his eyes. "I thought we agreed to keep things manageable. We've got our goals, Maya. Saving for a down payment, maybe starting the family talks soon. You know how tight things are." Maya's chest tightened. "I know, but this is important to me. It's the first time I've felt excited about work in years." Caleb didn't argue, but his silence spoke volumes. "I just don't want us to lose focus. You remember what happened after you went all in on the last freelance thing? It was chaos for months." She flinched, recalling late nights and missed dinners, the tension that had crept in. "This is different. I'd still have my job, just more to juggle." He stood, squeezing her shoulder briefly. "Just think about what we really want, okay? Not just for you, but for us." As he disappeared into the bedroom, Maya leaned against the kitchen counter, the city lights winking through the window. For a moment, she let herself wonder, what if she chose herself, just this once? The next morning, Maya arrived at work early, hoping to escape her doubts. Eric greeted her with a steaming cup of coffee and a hopeful grin. "Ready for your big leap?" She hesitated. "I honestly don't know if I can handle it. Caleb's worried, and maybe he's right." Eric shook his head, earnest. "Maya, you're one of the most talented people I know. You shouldn't have to shrink yourself for anyone. You know the city's holding that design competition, right? Open submissions, big exposure. Why don't you enter? Even if urban canvas is too much, this could be your chance. I'll help you put your portfolio together." Maya stared at him, the old spark of ambition flickering to life. "What if I fail? What if it's a waste?" Eric's eyes were warm. "Then at least you tried. Isn't that better than wondering forever?" She smiled, not trusting herself to speak. The weight of indecision pressed down, but for the first time in months, she felt possibility tugging at her sleeve. That evening, Maya found herself on a park bench, sketchbook open, city lights flickering on as dusk settled over Chicago. She sketched the skyline, letting her hand move freely. No deadlines, no rules, just the pure joy of creating. Her phone buzzed. A group message from Lila and Eric, both cheering her on. Eric: "Let's see those sketches. Competition deadlines next week." Lila: "You've got this, Maya. I'll bring celebratory cupcakes." Maya laughed, the tension easing from her shoulders. Maybe she couldn't have everything. Maybe she'd have to fight for even a piece of her dream. But for now, she could choose to try. She looked up at the city, alive and indifferent, then down at her hands, steady, capable, hopeful. And if you've ever felt torn between your dreams and someone you love, you're not alone. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see what Maya does next. And tell us, what would you do in her shoes? The city hummed around her, and Maya, for the first time in a long while, felt the faint thrill of possibility. The story for now was far from over. Maya's phone vibrated on the kitchen counter, its screen flashing with a reminder, design competition deadline, tomorrow, 9 a.m. The digital alert felt like a pulse in her chest, a single urgent heartbeat. She stared at it as she washed out her coffee mug, hands trembling so slightly she almost dropped it. It was nearly midnight. The rain from earlier had faded, leaving the city outside slick and gleaming under streetlights. Caleb was in the bedroom, door half shut, his voice muffled as he wrapped up yet another late evening call about quarterly reports and risk assessments. Maya wiped her hands on a dish towel and looked around their apartment, the place she'd bent herself into, the space she'd chosen over 100 other possibilities, just to make it work for the two of them. Her sketchbooks and pencils were stacked in neat, hidden piles, mostly untouched. The walls were decorated with generic prints Caleb had picked up at a department store, all muted blues and calming grays. Nothing here bore her mark. She exhaled, the sound shaky. Every cell in her body ached with exhaustion, but she willed herself to sit at the dining table, open her laptop, and pull up the half-finished digital illustration she'd been working on for the competition. The design brief was bold, bright, demanding. What does home mean to you? Her cursor hovered over empty white space. Home, she thought, biting her lip. Was it here, really? Or was it the dream she'd left behind for someone who, lately, barely looked up from his screen? She worked in silence for hours, the only sound the soft click of keys and the occasional creak of an old radiator. She lost herself in color and light, drawing scenes from her memories. Her grandmother's garden in spring, the smell of rain on hot pavement, the first apartment she'd ever rented alone, paint stains on the floor. Her movements grew faster, more desperate, as if she could outrun the doubts clawing at her chest. Just before dawn, she saved her draft and leaned back, rubbing her eyes. Her phone pinged again. A message from Eric. Don't forget, portfolio due by 9. You got this, Maya. She managed a tired smile, grateful for someone who remembered, who cared enough to nudge her forward. Behind her, she heard the bedroom door open. Caleb emerged, hair rumpled, eyes bleary behind his glasses. He glanced at the light of her laptop, then at the clock. You're still up? He asked, voice low, not unkind, but tinged with mild annoyance. Maya swallowed. I'm working on something important. He poured himself a glass of water, staring out the window at the city waking up, buses rumbling, headlights slicing through fog. You know you have work in a couple hours, right? She hesitated. I need to finish this. There's a citywide design competition. Eric encouraged me to enter and... She trailed off, searching his face for a flicker of excitement or concern. Anything. Caleb set his glass down with a gentle click. He didn't sit, just lingered by the counter, arms folded. Is this really the best time for... side projects? You've been so busy lately. I thought we agreed you'd focus on your job. Stability, remember? Maya's fingers tightened around her mug. I do remember. But this matters to me. It's not just a side project. It's... Her voice cracked, the words coming out sharper than she intended. It's who I am. He shrugged, gaze sliding away. I just don't want you getting your hopes up for something that won't go anywhere. We've talked about this, Maya. You always wind up disappointed. She stared at him, a surge of frustration rising in her throat. You know I turned down that offer in Berlin for us, right? I gave up something huge because I hoped. She stopped, her breath catching. He raised an eyebrow, his posture stiffening. I didn't ask you to do that. You decided. The words hung in the air, cold and heavy. Maya felt her heart twist. I did it for us, for you. I thought it mattered. Caleb sighed, running a hand through his hair. Look, I appreciate everything you do, Maya, but I have my own stuff going on. The promotion, the house hunting. This isn't the time for you to get distracted. He paused, then added, You're not the only one making sacrifices. Something inside her snapped. She stood, her chair scraping the floor. Is that what you think? That my dreams are just distractions? That what I want doesn't matter as much as your plans? He didn't answer. He just stared at her, expression unreadable, a wall she'd run into over and over again. She gathered her things, her laptop, her sketchbook, her portfolio folder. I'm going to the office early. I need to finish this somewhere I can actually think. He didn't stop her, didn't reach for her, just watched as she slipped on her raincoat and left, the door closing softly behind her. Dawn was a pale streak across the sky as Maya hurried through the city. The streets were mostly empty, slick with last night's rain, the air sharp and cold. She rode the elevated train downtown, staring at her reflection in the fogged window. A woman caught halfway between who she was and who she wanted to be. The office was hushed and almost eerie at this hour, the city's heartbeat muffled by thick glass and beige carpet. She sat up at her desk, spreading out her sketches, her laptop, her trembling hands. She worked with single-minded focus, pouring every ounce of longing, regret, and hope into her final design. She tweaked colors, sharpened lines, typed out her artist statement. She thought about home, not just a place, but a feeling, a choice, a sacrifice. By 8:30, she was done. She uploaded her submission, hit send, and slumped forward, a wave of exhaustion washing over her. She wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. A knock at the glass wall startled her. It was Eric, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee, his ever-present sketchbook tucked under his arm. "You look like you pulled an all-nighter," he said, offering her a cup. She smiled weakly. "I did. Thanks." He set his things down, voice gentle. "You did it, though. I'm proud of you." She blinked, caught off guard by the warmth in his words. "I don't even know if it's good enough." Eric shrugged, grinning. "You showed up for yourself. That's already enough." Maya sipped her coffee, the warmth grounding her. "Do you ever feel like no one really sees you? Like you could disappear and it wouldn't even matter?" Eric considered. "Sometimes. But the right people notice. The right people care." She looked away, throat tight. Her phone buzzed. A message from Lila. "Can't wait to see your work tonight. I'm bringing muffins. You better win." Maya smiled, her heart aching. Maybe not everyone was blind to her dreams. The competition event was held that evening in a glass-walled gallery in the West Loop. The sun was setting, casting long golden shadows across the city, streaks of amber light bouncing off skyscrapers and puddles. Inside, the gallery buzzed with energy, artists huddled around colorful displays, laughter and nervous chatter filling the air. Maya arrived alone. She wore a simple black dress, her hair pulled back, portfolio clutched to her chest. She felt exposed, like every insecurity was written across her face. Lila spotted her first, waving wildly from across the room, a box of muffins in one hand. "Maya, over here." She enveloped her in a hug, squeezing tight. "I'm so proud of you." Eric joined them moments later, flashing a shy smile. "You look like you belong here." He nodded toward the rows of artwork, the crowds clustered around bold, vibrant designs. "You ready?" Maya nodded, nerves twisting in her stomach. "I think so." As the judges made their rounds, Maya felt Caleb's absence like a cold wind. She'd sent him a text. "My piece is up tonight at the gallery," but received only a curt, "Busy. Good luck." She tried not to let it sting. She and Lila wandered the gallery, pausing in front of Maya's piece. It was a riot of color, memories layered atop each other, fragments of places she'd lived and people she'd loved, all woven into a tapestry of longing and hope. The artist's statement read, "Home is the place where you're seen, where your dreams are safe." Lila squeezed her hand. "This is you, Maya. All of you." No one can ignore that. The judges came by, asking questions, nodding thoughtfully. Eric hovered nearby, offering moral support. Maya's heart pounded as the crowd thinned and the results were announced. She didn't win, not first place anyway. But as the judges listed the finalists, her name among them, a ripple of applause washed over her. Lila shrieked, hugging her tightly. Eric grinned, eyes shining. "You did it," he whispered. Maya managed a shaky smile, gratitude and disbelief swirling inside her. She scanned the room one last time, half hoping Caleb had changed his mind, that he'd walk in and see her, really see her, the way her friends did, but he wasn't there. Later, bundled against the chill, Maya, Lila, and Eric stood outside the gallery, city lights blinking overhead. Lila handed Maya a muffin, her voice soft. "You know, you deserve to be celebrated, not just tolerated." Maya stared at the muffin, then at her friends. Her chest felt tight, but lighter somehow. "Thank you," she whispered. Eric looked at her, earnest. "You're more than someone's afterthought, Maya. Don't ever forget that." As the night grew colder, Maya realized the truth she'd been avoiding for months. The sacrifices she'd made had gone unnoticed. Her own happiness had been sidelined, not just by Caleb, but by herself. She'd given up her dreams, but he hadn't even cared. She drew a shaky breath, letting the city's noise wash over her, and knew, finally, painfully, that she couldn't keep sacrificing for someone who didn't see her worth. Would you? Maya stood in the center of the gallery, her heart pounding, the city lights of downtown Chicago glimmering through rain-soaked windows behind her. The crowd's buzz faded into a gentle hum, replaced by the sound of her own breathing, and the steady thrum of her pulse. On the wall before her hung her design, the piece she'd worked on in stolen moments, after midnight, fueled by doubt and hope in equal measure. It was vibrant and bold, a swirl of color and movement that felt more honest than anything she'd made in years. She didn't win first place that night, but as the judges announced her as a finalist, Maya felt a surge of pride so strong it threatened to bring her to tears. Lila, beaming, squeezed her hand. Eric offered her a high five, grinning beneath the brim of his newsboy cap. Their joy was genuine, and for the first time in months, Maya's smile didn't feel like something she had to force. Recognition came quietly at first. A couple of local businesses reached out, asking if she'd consider freelance work. An editor from a small design magazine slipped her a business card. Later, as the guests trickled out into the rainy night, one of the jurors, an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes, approached Maya. "Your work has a real voice," she said. "Don't let it get quiet." It was almost midnight when Maya finally made her way home. The city was hushed, lights reflecting off puddles in the empty streets, elevated trains rattling in the distance. Her phone buzzed with texts from Lila and Eric, filled with exclamation points and inside jokes. She paused on the stoop of her building, drawing in the damp, chilly air. For the first time in a long while, she felt at peace. Exhausted, yes, but content. Inside, the apartment was dark. Caleb's briefcase sat by the door, his jacket draped over the back of a chair. Maya found him in the kitchen, scrolling through emails, a mug of tea cooling beside him. He looked up, his expression neutral. "You're back late." She set her bag down, bracing herself. The competition ran long. I was a finalist." Caleb nodded, barely looking up. "That's great, Maya." A silence stretched between them, fragile and heavy. Maya's chest tightened. The words she'd rehearsed all evening pressed at her lips. Words she feared, but could no longer hold back. "Caleb," she began, her voice steady but gentle. "I need to talk to you. Really talk." She took the seat across from him, folding her hands in her lap. He closed his laptop, finally meeting her gaze. "About what?" She hesitated, gathering her courage, then let it spill out. Everything she'd been holding in. "I know you've been under a lot of pressure at work, and I know I've tried to make things easier for us, for you, but I can't keep setting aside what matters most to me. Art isn't just a hobby for me, it's who I am. I gave up an opportunity abroad because I thought it was right for us. But lately I feel like I'm disappearing in this relationship. I don't blame you for being focused on your career. I need to feel seen. I need you to care about what makes me, me." Caleb leaned back, exhaling slowly. His face softened, but his eyes drifted toward the window, watching droplets race down the glass. "I didn't realize you felt that way. I guess I thought we were doing what grown-ups are supposed to do. Paying the bills, planning for the future." He hesitated. "I never wanted you to give up anything, but I also never asked you what you really wanted." Maya shook her head gently. "But you didn't have to. I thought if I just kept compromising, things would work out, but I lost myself in the process. I need to change that." They sat in silence, the kitchen clock ticking. Maya felt a strange sense of calm settle over her. She didn't expect Caleb to have the perfect response, or to suddenly understand all her choices, but she'd spoken her truth, and that was enough. After a long pause, Caleb spoke, his tone careful. "I don't know if I can be what you need right now, Maya. I care about you, I really do. But maybe we've grown in different directions." Maya nodded. The words hurt, but they didn't break her. She reached across the table, giving his hand a gentle squeeze. "Maybe we have. I want us both to find happiness, even if it means changing what that looks like." That night, Maya slept in their apartment for the last time. She woke early, the city just beginning to stir, and packed her sketchbooks, some clothes, and a few favorite books into a canvas bag. She left a note for Caleb, thanking him for the good times, wishing him well. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets washed clean, the air smelling of earth and new beginnings. Maya moved in with Lila for a while, sleeping on her friend's lumpy couch, sharing late-night laughter over mugs of herbal tea. She juggled her day job and a growing roster of freelance projects, working from bustling coffee shops or the quiet corners of city parks. With Eric's encouragement, she started an online portfolio and began posting her art on social media, connecting with a wider community of creators and clients. Little by little, her confidence returned. The freelance gigs became more frequent, and soon Maya was able to leave her office job behind. She set up a small home studio in a sunlit room of a walk-up apartment, plants on the windowsill and her favorite pencils arrayed in a ceramic mug. She filled her walls with her own art, pieces that reminded her of what she'd nearly left behind. Sometimes she missed Caleb, Their quiet evenings, the shared jokes, the feeling of safety and routine. But she didn't regret her choice. She'd learned that love should never require you to silence your own voice. That sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. One afternoon, months later, Maya met up with Lila and Eric at the coffee shop. The place was busy, filled with students tapping away at laptops and neighbors chatting over pastries. Lila brought over 3 steaming cups, setting them down with a flourish. "To new chapters," Lila said, raising her mug. Eric grinned. "To Maya, for finding her spark again." Maya laughed, clinking her mug against theirs, warmth spreading through her chest. "To friends who remind you who you are." They sat together, sunlight streaming through the windows, laughter and conversation swirling around them. Looking out, Maya watched the city's endless movement, trains rumbling by, people hurrying along rain-washed sidewalks, and felt a profound sense of belonging. She took out her sketchbook, flipping to a blank page, her fingers itching to draw. The future was uncertain, but it was hers to create now, on her own terms. And if you've ever found yourself putting your dreams on hold for someone else, Maya's story is proof that it's never too late to choose yourself. Sometimes, honoring your own passions is the most loving thing you can do, not just for you, but for everyone in your life. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever made a sacrifice for someone else? And how did it change you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone who really needs to hear it today. If Maya's journey resonated with you, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Your dreams matter. Don't let them go quiet. Thank you for staying with us until the end. See you in the next story.